Welcome to Behind the Badge with your special guest, Lieutenant Williams, your news source for all things police in the city of Fond du Lac.
Welcome back into Fond du Lac today on News Talk 1450 and 100.7 KFIZ. It's now time for Behind the Badge as we got Lieutenant Williams in studio. Good morning, Lieutenant. How's it going today?
Good morning. Getting through a busy couple of weeks here. I think I'm starting to come out of it, so I'm actually starting to get caught up.
That's great to hear. That time off, it feels so good during the time of it, but then you come back and it's like, oh, nobody did my job while I was gone.
Right, yeah, I was just about caught up from after my trip to Washington, D.C., and then Memorial Day weekend happened, and here I am again. So, but it's been going. We're headed in the right direction.
Really appreciate you joining us in all this busy time. Let's jump right in. I know there's been a lot of noise around, the United States and, Texas most recently with, active shooters and stuff like that. So you kind of wanted to hit on that this morning.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of misinformation. So I really am not gonna quote or say anything about the shooting because we really don't know a lot about it. But I did want to talk about our police response and how we would prepare for that same situation. Now, mind you, there is a lot of misinformation, so I'm basing it off of stuff that we've all heard so far, and I don't know if it's true or not. So we have two different responses to instances, and those are the active shooter or a hostage barricade situation. Both of them are handled totally different. Uvalde, no question, started out as an active shooter incident. And I think the police responded accordingly at that point as far as that when they quickly responded. And then the question of it came to once they got to that classroom where there was a barricaded subject. From what I hear, there was an outward opening door that the police could not open. Now, I don't know if the police tried to open it and they became under fire, which might change the circumstances a little bit. But in that context, that's kind of it's a gray area. It's a harder than just go in or go out question because there's a lot of other factors that could take place in there. Now, if he closes that door and he's in that room and he's not actively shooting, which is a key thing, not actively shooting, and it might have turned at one point to a hostage barricade. And for the best chance of survival for the hostages in that situation, it would probably be for them not to make entry if it got to that. Now, I, like most of the other people from the information we have, feel like the entry should have been made. And that's just from the information that I have. I'm not second guessing those officers, and who knows what the real information is out there. The lucky thing is most of us, our departments, especially the ones of Fond du Lac size or greater, are what I feel to be better prepared for these situations. We practice breaching with our SWAT team several times a year, and we actually practice this with our patrol units as well. Every single one of our patrol cars has a pry bar in it, so they'd be able to pry an outward opening door.
Okay.
Everyone in our department is able to drive our Bearcat, which has a ram in it that could make a portal or through a window or a door if it was accessible from the road. We have explosive breach capability, which can get there relatively fast. We have two explosive breachers that are able to take a door off of the hinges. That takes a little bit more time to set up than those other things, but we have ramming tools and other things and we talk about outward opening doors a lot, which is kind of what the thing is. Now, under fire, it's a different situation. However, we still have access to shields and things of that nature that would be able to protect officers reasonably if they're trying to make a breach at that point. So there's so many different factors that come out there that the people that get out and make a determination right away, they're just trying to kind of get a following or a media thing because you don't know, and they can't release everything right away. All the information is gonna come out. So when these situations happen, I would love for people to be patient, but that's just not the world we live in. And it is. Fun's not the word, but people like to speculate, and I speculate. Right away we're saying, what are they doing standing outside? You get in a situation where you have an active shooter at a school, sensitive area, and parents are gathering outside, and then they want to go in. This is not unique. In fact, about 20 years ago, 15 years ago in Russia, Beslan, Russia, terrorists took over a school and they had the same incident. You can actually watch this. There's live YouTube footage of it at Beslam School, where parents were surrounding the school, and they basically all their kids were taken hostage, and the Russian military took over the unit. They ended up having to make entry, and a lot of people died in that incident. There's no really good answer, but the thing that we're kind of seeing too, what I feel is like we're really placing a lot of blame on the police department, and maybe rightfully so, but we got to remember they did not shoot these people. Like it was a person, it was an active shooter that did the shooting. Now we will determine whether the response could be better, but I'm thinking that's what they're toying with is, are they an active shooter or is it still a hostage barricade? And someone made a tactical decision, which may or may not have been right. And it's not just an easy answer because there's so many other factors. I mean, if you're trying to breach a door and rounds are coming through that door at you, you're not doing anyone any good if you are shot or dead, or another person that needs to be rescued too. So it's a really tough situation. Now, and then in the school itself, was there another access point into that classroom? And that, most classrooms are made where there's like a window and a door, or some other way to get out of there or in there. So other things to think about.
And it's one of those things where not every incident is exactly the same, right? They're all different. It's one of those things to where you can train as much as possible, but you don't know what's going to happen when the situation actually arises.
Oh, definitely. And so since 1999, when Columbine happened, I was actually still in college. It's changed police tactics away from kind of what you saw in Uvalde, because before then it was surround the school and wait for the SWAT team, the specialized units, to go in there and do their SWAT-y stuff, and they realized that while they were waiting, a lot of people were actively dying, killing, or there was active killing, there's active dying going on. So they knew they had to change their tactics. And since 1999, so we're talking over 20 years, police tactics have changed, and they've gone to the source. They know the quicker they get to that shooter, it ends. And usually it ends by the shooter committing suicide or officers having to end it. So the police tactics have changed. However, every situation is different, like you said. I happen to be an active shooter instructor for response, so I kind of deal with this stuff a lot, talk about it a lot, and our department, I feel like we would respond different, but we have a lot more options as well. And it sounds like they did not have a lot of options, like waiting for keys and all that stuff. There's other things we could do. So we would get that door open, I believe. So.
Awesome. We're chatting with Lieutenant Williams this morning on News Talk 1450 and 100.7 KFIZ for Behind the Badge. Really appreciate your time, Lieutenant Williams, and hitting on this topic with us. Something a little closer to home, just from a geographical standpoint. We've seen multiple bomb threats the last few weeks at Kiel. What do you know about this, and how could you guys would deal with that around here?
So from what I believe, and this is, well, once again, I could be totally wrong, but this is what I'm hearing, is that there was some students that got in trouble for misusing pronouns or something like that. And what that is a very hot political topic. And when you get topics like this, it's not just Kiel, it spreads a lot further than that. And then other people get involved. And it kind of sounds like that was a little bit of where Kiel's coming from, where some of these bomb threats were from far outside. So, and it was just people getting into the political conversation, or being a part of that incident. Now, bomb threats we obviously take serious. We had another threat at a school just this last week at Fondy High. Turns out it was not credible. But there's always that fear, and especially when there's a more recent one like Uvalde that goes on. We are constantly in fear and constantly thinking about the safety of our children. And it's sad that some people take advantage of this. But then also you got to remember the students themselves are hypersensitive about this. And I'm not saying that's what happened in Fond du Lac, but people are gonna, if you say gun, they're gonna be more sensitive to that, and that might drive you got the telephone game where it gets more serious and serious, and the message gets different the further you go, and all of a sudden it gets kind of blown out of proportion. And I had this, we had incidents like this at Sabres too, where when you got down to the base of it, it really was not really a big deal. But you still got to kind of treat it very seriously. I think a lot of the rumor game gets it. Another thing I always see when I'm on social media, because I go to the comments, and I shouldn't go to the comments, but it's like I'm a moth to the flame, and I go to the comments, and people are like, nothing's done, and there couldn't be anything further from the truth. So there is a statute called terroristic threats. It's a Wisconsin state statute, but every state has something similar to that. And that is what we would charge someone if they're calling in a bomb threat, or if they're doing anything like that. And it's a serious charge.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something where, it could mess up like your future. If you're a child out there and you're listening to the show, don't do it. It's just not worth it. I've heard stories where kids have said something kind of in the heat of the moment, not even really meaning it, but it was serious enough, and people are going to take it seriously,
right, yeah.
And it has messed up them graduating from high school and all this stuff. So you really got to be careful out there, especially in this day and age. I mean, none of this really was even a thing back when I went to high school, because I'm old. We've covered that. I'm old, but if you think about it, so since 1999 in Columbine, and when I was teaching my active shooter class, from 1999 to 2013, there was like 160 active shooter events, which sounds like a lot. There's been like over 300 this year.
Wow. So
that's how much they're going up. And they're not, they usually take place in business settings. People think, they're always school shooters. Those are actually not the most not popular, but the ones, it's actually workplace ones. If you think about the Molson Coors shooting around here, like more workplace type stuff is actually the more common ones.
Gotcha. Glad we only have like 5 employees that work here. After you hear news like that, and you can keep closer tabs on everybody. Lieutenant Williams, really appreciate the time this morning. Anything else you want to hit on before I let you get out of here?
Well, I said a mouthful today. This is, it's a serious topic. Police are constantly evolving, constantly changing, and it's only going to take until another instance where someone does something different that we're going to have to evolve again. I do want to say this, that I take pride in the Fond du Lac Police Department. I'm in charge of the training here. I try to make our patrol officers, our school resource officers as prepared as best they can for these situations. And hopefully this never happens in Fond du Lac, but if it does, I hope the people of Fond du Lac know that we will be prepared the best we can for these situations.
Awesome. Lieutenant Williams, appreciate the time. We will chat next week, same time, same place, right here on Newstalk 1450 and 100.7 KFIZ.